Okay, my first question is, what is your name and your current coaching position?
My name is Justin Argraves. I'm the head varsity football coach at Tucson High.
Okay, and will you share a little bit about your coaching history and accomplishments?
Sure, why not? I started coaching in 2001. Was spent 6 years as a defensive coordinator, assistant coach at Santa Rita High School. I moved on to Catalina Foothills for 1 year as a defense coordinator. Then moved up to Phoenix. Served as defense coordinator at Millennium High School in Goodyear, Arizona for 2 years. Became the head coach at Mountain View High School the following year. Was there for 1 year and then was offered the position here at Tucson High. So I've been here the last 8 years as head football coach at Tucson High School. Let's see, awards you said? Awards and accomplishments?
Yeah, a little bit about your accomplishments.
When we took over Tucson High, they won a combined 10 games in the 5 years prior to my coaching staff showing up here. When we got here, we went 7-3 my first year, made the state playoffs for the first time in a while. We've won 50 games over the last 8 years. Been awarded the Arizona Cardinals National Football League State Coach of the Year my first year. I've had about, four Region Coach of the Year awards. I sit on the Arizona Football Coaches Association board. I also sit on the National Football Foundation, Southern Arizona chapter, their board as well. So pretty active with the football community.
That's a lot to be proud of. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is your favorite coaching moment or memory?
Oh man, there's a bunch. Probably two that stick out were my first year. We played Sunnyside High School, which was a pretty big rival, and they haven't beat them in, I think, 20-some years. And we ended up beating them at their place. And then probably another one was 5 years later, again, against Sunnyside. We beat them for the region championship, which is the first region championship in over 40 years here at Tucson High, and beat them last second. So, yeah, two good memories that stick out.
Yeah, that's amazing. The third question is, what is the most difficult coaching moment or incident you've faced?
Probably got to go, losing a football player. Unfortunately, we've had 4 in the last 3 years pass away. Kids who've played here, not current kids, but that graduated all, around 20, 21 years old. So kind of wrapping that up, just having to deal with the loss of somebody who you've been so close to. That's probably the toughest.
Especially because they're so young, too.
Yes, yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Absolutely. So the next question is, what potential role and impact can coaches have in young people's lives?
I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunities for coaches and teachers to have a strong impact on student athletes. We see them all day, every day pretty much now. So we're with them more than their friends, their girlfriend, their parents mostly. So just, teaching them how to become, young, in my case, young men and hopefully good fathers, guiding them when they do make mistakes, because, just like as adults, the kids, they're going to make mistakes, and, just giving them the right direction, being a place of solitude when they're having issues, maybe, at home or in the classroom or with their friends and girlfriends, somebody that they can come to and talk to for guidance and direction. I think every day, there's an opportunity that arises that we have to, take hold of.
Absolutely. So how has coaching changed over time, especially considering generational change?
Yeah, this is going to be my 19th year coaching, and in the last 19 years, I've seen tons of changes. My dad was a lifelong coach, and just from when he coached to now, I think it's, there's a lot of differences. Expectations, I think they've always been high, but even now, so with social media and kids being able to try to promote themselves to get, scholarships or make it to the next level, the time demands on just, the kids having to be here so much more than they did 20 years ago. Coaches, in Arizona, they've passed a rule now. We have year-round sports. It used to be, you could only coach them in season, and then you did your off-season weight room stuff, and that was about it. Now, we're on that field pretty much every day throughout the year. So it's a lot more demanding. You're under a microscope. Again, social media,
Right.
you're under a microscope every single minute. So a lot of pressures that go with it.
Absolutely. The next question is, what kind of relationship do you try and create with your athletes, and why are relationships so important, generally speaking?
Oh, you got to gain their trust. And so, having an open door policy is what we have here at Tucson High. They know that they can come in if they need to talk about something. They can come in and talk. It's not always just about schemes or X's and O's, like I said. But just being there for them and being able to draw the fine line of friend and mentor and coach and teacher. That can be difficult at times just because you are around them so much. They become like family to you. But just making sure that they are aware that you're there for them, communicating with them, asking them about stuff outside of what we're doing on the field or in the court or in the gym. Just letting them know that you're more than just their coach. You're actually there, someone to help them and guide them.
That's so important. I agree. The next one is, how do you motivate different kinds of athletes and personalities?
Man, yeah, that's a $1 million question right there. Because especially in my profession in football, we have over 150 kids in our program, whereas some smaller sports they might not have that many. So we have a greater diversity of different types of kids and where they come from and how they behave and how they act. So just again, that kind of goes back to your last question: building up that relationship, communicating with them, understanding that each individual responds differently. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a time where you would say, no, you do it my way. That's the only way you can do it. And I'm firmly against that. I think every kid has to be coached differently. It just is. It is what it is. Just because of their different backgrounds that they come from, and you got to find that pipeline to communicate with them.
Right. One size does not fit all.
Yes, exactly.
The next question is, how do you choose team captains, and what roles do you see them playing in the team dynamics that you try and create?
So we go to camp every year before our season hits in August. So we always go, mid or late July. We take them. We go up north. We've gone to Northern Arizona University for the last 7 years. So when we go up there, a lot of on top of practicing, team bonding, and all that stuff that kind of plays with that. But we allow the kids to vote on their team captains. We feel that it's their team. They're choosing who they think can lead them on the field and outside the field. So we kind of allow them to choose that. For the most part, it's pretty spot on with who they choose. If there's a gleaming difference in opinion, we might kind of address it a little bit later. But we allow them to choose it, and some guys go, they have to be all upperclassmen. I tell them, pick your four top leaders, and so they're the captains for the entire year.
That's great. Okay, so how would you describe your leadership style?
So my leadership style, and it's changed over the years again because the game has changed and just expectations have changed. I try to be personable with the kids and try to be somewhat of a player's coach, but they also know that there's that fine line and that they're held to high expectations, and they know that our coaching staff were also held to high expectations. So in a coaching style realm, I guess, you would say, somewhat players coach, and then also, that they understand that we're in a leadership role and they have to kind of follow, command and what our expectations are.
There's some boundaries there.
Yes, exactly.
So in what ways does your personality impact the way you coach, good or bad?
I mean, it's huge, and it's like the kids. We talk to the kids every day. If they're having a bad day at school, a lot of times it will carry over onto the practice field, and that makes it pretty difficult. And it's the same thing for coaches. I tell them all the time, coaches have bad days. We might have a bad day at work. Something might be going on with the family. So myself personally, I try to get in a positive mindset every day. Getting into practice, does it always happen? No, I don't think any coach can say that. But just being able to balance, family, work, coaching in a manner that allows me to bring the best, personality onto the field every day at practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, question 11. How do you go about preparing, planning, and organizing as a coach, and why do you think it's important?
So, yeah, it's a year-round process for us. I mean, I'm actually working on, we start spring ball next week, so practice plans and install guides right now. I have a year-round calendar that I kind of base off of everything Google Calendar. Kids have access to it, coaches have access to it, so everything's planned out, at least 6 months in advance. Going into season-wise, coordinators, myself, we put together our install guides for defense, offense, special teams, and that kind of allows us to then go and plan out each practice for the day of what we want to get installed, what is our focus on for that day. So all the coaches are aware of what we're doing, all the players are aware of what we're doing. We generate practice plans every single day. During the season, it's usually done on Saturday and Sunday prior to that week. So our kids know on Monday, we go over every single practice plan, I show it to them. My coaches are expected to review the practice plan, and they have input on it as well, so they're expected to know exactly what's going on once we hit that field. So the organizational process is huge. If we don't follow that, it just throws our whole day or week or month into a tailspin.
Yeah, I can see that. So why is it critical for coaches to consider age, skill level, and other environmental contexts?
So, in the general coaching scheme of things, age is big because you look at freshmen or sophomores, and we're at the high school level. They're learning a lot about themselves, their body, their mannerisms, how they act, how to respond to a bigger environment, such as Tucson High, where we have 3,500 kids, and they're coming from a middle school of 300. Mm-hmm. So we look at that. There's some kids who are more advanced, and we have had freshmen, very few, but we've had a few freshmen on varsity. Same with sophomores. So we got to look at that as a standpoint. We got to look at your physical ability. Are you able to go out there for us on a Friday night and go against guys who are 6'3", 250 pounds, stuff like that. So we kind of got to take a lot into that, and then we got to take into context their mental capacity. Are they able to handle what we're doing right now? Are they able to deal with the time constraints that we give them, balancing classwork and schoolwork? So all that kind of plays in, and that just kind of determines then their placement within our program.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So how do positive relationships with parents, administrators, fellow coaches, and other... Okay, so how do you have positive relationships with parents, administrators, fellow coaches?
So they got to be built. With administration, I mean, they run the show. I mean, they're the ones who you go to in times of need. When things are going well, they'll help you out with, backing you if there is an issue with maybe a parent or something to that extent. So me and my administrative team, we communicate on a daily basis. They know my philosophy, they know my game plan, kind of going back to the organizational aspect. So got to make sure we're on the same page. That's huge. You got to have it. Yeah. And where I've been, and I've seen it all. I've seen some administrators where it's not really fun to work with because you're not on the same page. And like right now, my administrative staff here is tremendous. So it's been great. And then parents, just again, kind of talk about open lines of communication with the kids. You got to do it with the parents.
Absolutely.
There's got to be, they got to understand where you're coming from, and they got to understand what the demands are going to be upon their children. And for the most part, when you're transparent with them early, they understand. But there's always going to be times where we're not going to see eye to eye. But again, that's communication that hopefully clears that up.
It's the most important thing. So how can coaches influence athletes' lives outside of sports and encourage positive and pro-social behavior as well as academic and professional success? Yeah,
so we focus a lot on that. We will talk about what it means to be a good person, what it means to be a good student. We'll bring guest speakers in who will talk about life experiences. Sometimes it's sports related, sometimes it's not sports related. We'll bring in speakers to teach them, how to open up a bank account, how to set their table, stuff that they're going to need to do as they get older. We're also very highly, actively involved in giving back to the community. We run a yearly backpack drive where last year I think we had over 250 backpacks that our kids donated to the program, and then we went and delivered them to local schools for kids who are in need. So we just really push that. Football's going to be here for right now. It ain't going to be here for forever. But how can you use your tools that you have right now to help others outside of just our program or even the school?
Right, those things last a lifetime.
Yes.
So how do you think you create an inclusive and safe environment for all types of athlete, considering issues of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and other markers of difference?
Yeah. So again, we're very transparent on what we say. They know where we're coming from. We don't give judgment on anybody. We know that everyone is treated the same. And you say that, and does it always happen? Sometimes, it does. I mean, we're just in the real world here. But we really try to push that with our students that, hey, we're a big family here. And again, we spend so much time with each other. We have no room for any of that. And again, they'll leave here though, and then you get on social media and you see, what's going on. You see what's going on, outside of Tucson. And that's just something that you have to be able to, as a coach and a coaching staff, be able to talk to your kids about what's going on, and not just kind of close the door or put it in the closet and not talk about it. And a lot of times it's hard. I mean, it's hard because, what I'm going through, they might not be going through, or what they're going through, I might have never gone through growing up. So just being able to, again, going back and communicate, that's kind of what we feel is a huge piece into to keeping everything, in a manner where we want it to be here.
Yeah. So this ties in. Why should coaches be especially knowledgeable about Title IX?
So Title IX is huge right now, in making sure that all of our programs across the board are receiving, proper treatment, making sure that, the football program is not getting more than, say girls track or girls basketball. So a lot of the Title IX comes from state funding. And I think with communicating with your administrative team and understanding what needs to be done, and how we can manage to make sure that is all equal, it works out best for everybody. And the thing is, and especially at a high school level or even at the collegiate level, we're all, when you label it, we're Tucson High. We might have a football program, we might have a girls tennis team or a boys track, but we're Tucson High. We all represent the same school. So to favor one and not the other only kind of diminishes what we're trying to bring here and what we're trying to represent as a community, as a school.
Absolutely. Last 4 questions. How can coaches proactively minimize liabilities and risks generally?
So reducing liabilities and risks. Okay, so that stems back into making sure as coaches that we're going out and we're being proactive in studying, rules, bylaws, new coaching techniques. It's basically professional development.
Yeah.
We have to. We tell our kids to study game film and get ready for a game. Well, we have to do the same thing. Our priority number one is the safety of these young men and women on the field or on the court. And we cannot do them a disservice by just doing the same thing over and over and over again, because things are changing so much.
Right.
We have to adapt as well. So making sure that, protocol is followed. If there's questions, we need to make sure we're asking. And again, communication with, our athletic trainer, our admin team, district personnel, everyone has to be on the same page. And I think once we can get on the same page and we're being proactive in doing professional development, that only, minimizes the risks that you mentioned.
Absolutely. So what are some effective and ineffective approaches to discipline?
So I think as a last 18 years, I think I've done it all. The kids now, what we've come to see is that when I played, if you messed up, you ran. That approach doesn't really work too much. Just giving them a set discipline of, hey, go run or go flip tires, and just telling them and kind of shunning them off, that doesn't work, because they're more up to just to do it again. It's just something they'll get it done, they'll come right back at it. In order to properly handle the discipline nature of what we do is talking to the kids of why it was done, what their mindset was, and then kind of redirecting them of why that was probably, inappropriate or shouldn't have been done. Going back to communicating on it. Now, all kids, are different. They all respond differently. So we'll have we'll have different things that we'll do. We still will have some, running or something like that. But we kind of try to make a lot of it team-based. But again, I think more so if you sit down and you talk to somebody one-on-one in an office or outside of the field, you're able to kind of get through them a little bit more than just yelling at them and saying, "Hey, go run a mile." That just, in today's day and age, it doesn't really work, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. So, last two questions.
Mm-hmm.
What considerations need to be made in regards to compliance?
So, in compliance to district, policy, state policies is.
That's all the question said.
Okay. So just being in compliance again is we are, as a coaching staff, we're mandated to follow certain procedures. We have to be, CPR certified. We have to take, certain, like a couple weeks ago, our district had a district mandated training class, and they kind of go over, AIA, which is our governing board for the state, bylaws and rules. So kind of goes back to what I was, a couple questions ago, is just being proactive in our own professional development, and then, following guidelines that is set upon by our administrative team and our district and the state.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Last question. How can social media be a problem and an opportunity for coaches?
Man, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there's times where I'm like, I wish Twitter was never around, but at the same time, I mean, it's great. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much opportunity for learning, I think, to where, not these young men and women, they can get on Twitter and they can learn a lot about their sport or about, even in the coaching realm, like recruiting, trying to get to the next level. They can see what's going on, what other schools are doing or what other individuals are doing, and try to maybe, achieve what they're doing. But in hindsight, it's also used in a very negative light. There's a kid can go online and start putting themselves to somebody else and think, well, why am I not as good as that individual? Or, online bullying, stuff to that matter. That's what we teach our kids, and we actually do an hour presentation at our camp every year on social media. And I talk about experiences from other coaches and college coaches I've talked to, and kind of tell them, hey, this is how you need to run your social media account. Here's how it can benefit you, and then here's the downfalls to what's going on. But the communication aspect, it's great. I mean, when I played high school ball, if I wanted to talk to my coach, I had to go up to his office. Now, I mean, it's, you can get on Twitter, you can text message, all that stuff. So it's just, there's a fine line. And I think as coaches, that's something that we have to do a better job of educating our students and teaching them, the pros and the cons from it, and then hoping that they follow suit. Yeah.
That's an optimistic outlook on it. I know it can be a difficult subject.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, we monitor our kids' social media accounts too.
Okay, that's good.
So I have an individual coach who, and they know, and it gets monitored, and if there's issues, we bring them in. If there's severe issues, we get administrative involved. Okay. Yeah, it's tough.
Well, great. Thank you so much for this interview, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, if there's any